Hello friends, welcome to another video on Fabric. Load of things going on in Fabric. Before we start this video, I just want to have one disclaimer here. Things are changing in Fabric very fast. A lot more new features are coming up, and as I'm as I'm doing this video, what we see today might change tomorrow. But the purpose of these videos is gets our hands dirty what is available today in public preview and slowly build our knowledge around this new whole Fabric ecosystem and try to see what is available today, what we can do, what it has to offer. In today's video, we are going to look into direct lake. This is something is really big buzzword, similar to like one lake, like where the data is stored at a one single place. Data never moves. It's a one single copy. Similarly, in Power BI world, direct lake is a big thing. Let's first take a look at that. What is available prior to Fabric, prior to one lake, prior to direct lake, what was available, what direct lake is going to bring to us. So I'm just going to quickly show a small PowerPoint presentation. As you see in this diagram, so we have a two way of connecting Power BI today. We have a direct query mode or an import mode. In direct query mode, the queries go back to the database, like in this case SQL Server, and no data get loaded into memory, and every time the queries gets sent to the source. Again, in this case, we're using SQL Server, and then it is very slow. I haven't seen any of my client is using except a couple of cases, but it's very useful because it brings you the most recent data, what you have in your database. Because every time you are interacting with the visuals, it sends the query back to the backend system and bring the most recent data depending on how it has been developed. The other most popular way of using Power BI is import mode, where you bring the data in memory in Vertipack engine, and then everything runs fast and furious from there. And this is a great solution, but again, the challenge is you have to have a scheduled refresh to bring the data, and you don't have the near real-time capabilities in this. Although there was a concept of hybrid tables, again, if you wanted to look into those, but these are the most commonly used scenarios. So direct query mode or the import mode. Now, there is the third one, which is called direct lake. So what that is, so this is kind of best of both worlds. So what you have is you never bring the data in memory, you don't import the data, you are always kind of querying directly to your one lake where the data is stored in a delta lake or delta tables, and it works similar to the performance as I haven't tested the performance and all that stuff yet, but as per Microsoft, this perform as good as import. So basically, if you have Lakehouse and you have a data in the Lakehouse or in one lake, and you're using Fabric workloads, and then you will mostly use a direct lake. And in this video, we're going to look into that, how the direct lake thing works. Again, as I said, everything is in public preview right now. Things are changing as we speak. So what we're going to see today might change tomorrow. But again, it's just getting ourselves acquainted with the technologies or the new terms which are coming up or they are talking about. There's another diagram. Again, this is not my diagram. It's from Microsoft. This diagram is on the May 23 Power BI update. Also, in this particular video, we are going to use May 23 Power BI desktop because it has connection or connectors for Microsoft Fabric. prior to the May 2023 Power BI update, there is no Microsoft Fabric there. So in this video, we're using that. So if you want to play with all this stuff, you should update to the most recent Power BI version, desktop version, which is May 2023. And here is the diagram which tells everything. So you have in Fabric a one lake where the data is stored in the Delta tables. Doesn't matter whether you're using Synapse data warehousing. Again, that is like a data warehouse, Synapse data engineering, Lakehouse, data science, and data factory. Doesn't matter how the data comes in there. It's in one lake. Prior to one lake, what the way you have to use it, either you have the direct query or the import. Now here it is direct lake or pass through. Basically your Power BI is directly connecting to one lake and reading the delta tables, and that is called direct lake. And this is like a big thing. So we're going to look into that, how this is going to work in our we are going to look into a demo. How does this work? So let's get to Power BI service and take a look what we have done in the previous 3 videos. If you haven't checked those videos, do check those videos out. I will share the playlist link in the description of this video. So let's get to Power BI service and take a look. In Power BI service, if you remember in the previous video, we created a Lakehouse. It automatically spin up a data warehouse and SQL endpoint, and then also a data set. Similarly, we did a data warehouse, and then we have a data set there as well. And in data warehouse, we loaded the data using data factory pipelines, and for Lakehouse, we did a demo in using Dataflow Gen 2, which is amazing to load the data into Lakehouse. So by default, it created Power BI data set for us. If we go to Fab Test Lakehouse, that is the data set, and again it says data set to default. What it has is it automatically brought those tables in here in the data set, and they are available for us to use. We cannot open this data model. We cannot make any change to this data set, but we can always keep in mind, we can always keep our custom data set as well. And we will look into that in a second. And similarly, if I go to my Fab Test Data Warehouse, again, icon of the data warehouse or the data set look like in a calendar table. I don't know what does that means, but that's what the icon is right now. And this is again also tells you data set to default. So if I go to my Fab Test Data Warehouse, I see all the tables. Remember, we loaded the sample data there, and my stock was the table which we loaded using Dataflow pipeline in the data warehouse. So again, we cannot change the data model and nothing happens here. So we cannot do, again, if we wanted to do that, we have to create our custom tables. Let's get to Power BI, the May release, and connect to these data sets, or whether we're using direct lake or not, how we'll find that out. So this is May 2023 update. So what we have here is one big thing is if we go to more, we have Microsoft Fabric connector there. So in May 2023, in Get Data, we have new place to get data, which is Microsoft Fabric, and it has Power BI dataset, data marts, and all that's new fun stuff. And similarly, you can also go to Data Hub, and you have another options shown here now: data marts, Lakehouse, and warehouses as well. So let's first connect to Lakehouse preview. So I'm going to go Lakehouse right now. So when I connect, say, Lakehouse, it showed me all the Lakehouse I have access to on my Power BI tenant. So the one which we are working on, Fab Test Lakehouse. So if I use that and say connect, what I'm going to see here, it's going to be show us something similar what we have seen in the past. It will tell us connected to live Power BI dataset. You don't know whether it's connected to the Lakehouse. We never connected to the dataset at this point. It says connected live to the Power BI dataset, fab test Lakehouse, and in fab test. So fab test is our workspace, and fab test Lakehouse is a now. Well, we connected to the Lakehouse. We never connected to Power BI dataset, which was built on top of Lakehouse, the default dataset. So even we haven't connected to the dataset, it still says connected live to Power BI dataset. I guess this will change over time. And if we go to tables, what we see is we will see all those tables, what is available in the Lakehouse. And those are tables, and of course there's no relationship. Again, I'm a little bit skeptical about the default data set. I don't know where I will use it or how I will use it. I think I will always have to create my own custom data set to set the relations up and all that fun stuff. But again, we will explore more in the upcoming videos. But at this point in time, there's no relation. It shows us the table. And if we go now, we don't know whether it's a direct lake or what's happening under the hood right now. And if I hover over, it tells me I'm connected to this particular table, and the data source is SQL Server Analysis Services and all that fun stuff. And if we go click on here and go in advanced, storage mode doesn't show us anything. So it's a direct lake or not. Maybe with the profiler and the tracer, we can find that out. I'm not going to do that because it becomes too technical, but so we're gonna explore a little more things here. So keep in mind, we connected to the Lakehouse, and it shows us that we are connected to Power BI dataset. So it's just a little bit confusing right now. I cannot tell whether I connected to the Lakehouse or Power BI dataset. Let's open a new report and now connect to dataset default, which was created on the Lakehouse. So let's go to new report. Here is the new report, and now this time we're going to connect to Power BI dataset. So if we go to Data Hub, we go to Power BI dataset, and what we are going to do is we are going to connect to fab test Lakehouse. Now, as you can see, this is calendar kind of icon. So this is the default dataset which was automatically created when we created a Lakehouse. So let's get to this one and connect. And this we were able to do in the past. Prior to Fabric, we were able to connect to Power BI dataset. It's a similar experience. Again, here this makes sense because it says connected live to Power BI dataset, fab test Lakehouse in fab test. So of course I connected dataset. I know the one thing I really want to point out, if I connect to the Lakehouse using the Lakehouse preview button, my status still shows that I connected to Power BI dataset. I have no way to find out like whether I'm connected to the Lakehouse or a dataset. If I go like there's a previous Power BI desktop which we opened. So this was in this particular example, we were connected to the Lakehouse. They both show the same thing and the similar experience. So again, it's very, very hard to tell whether you connected to a dataset or to the lake set. But again, the question goes back to like whether we are using direct lake, what we need to do that to make sure that we are connected to direct lake. We will get to that. So I'm going to close this window right now, and what we're going to do is I think if we connect to the direct warehouse, if we connect to data warehouse default data set, we will have the similar experience. So what we're going to do is we are going to create our custom data set in Power BI service, and then we will connect to those one and see if how does that look like. Okay, here we are in Power BI service. We have all those artifacts. So let's go to first create our own custom data set on Lakehouse. So we go to Lakehouse, and we will see our 3 tables there, which already exist there. Okay, we open Lakehouse and we see our tables there. So here we have the option New Power BI data set. Let's click that. And then it asks us which table you want to include or exclude. So let's say I said I want my ticker and my stock. I just don't want trip, and then go confirm. Okay, so it created this data model for data set for us, and by default it created its own name, fab test lakehouse with one, and we can rename it. Let's call it fab test lakehouse custom data set, and that's the name. And then here what I found is if I hover over on this one, it shows here the storage mode is direct lake, as you can see there. And that tells me if I connect to this data set will use the direct lake in my as the new thing we saw in Fabric. So I'm going to create my relation here. My ticker will have a relationship with the ticker here, and a couple of challenges I found when creating the relationship, so I will point that out. So let's say if I confirm here, and in Power BI, so this is the problem here. I dragged from ticker table to my stock, and what it did, it created one too many on the other direction. If I was in the Power BI desktop, if we create this relationship on Power BI desktop, it sees what is one side and what is the many side. Doesn't matter how we drag the columns to create the relationship, it does that detection. But I found in this particular case, it did not detect. My ticker is on the one side and my stock is on the many side. So I have to make sure what I found is when you are creating a relationship in creating a Power BI data set and doing it in the Power BI service, you really need to know your relationship. I will show another example where I found it really challenging. So this relationship I know is wrong. I can surely change it. I can change it one to many, and it will should switch to other direction. Oh, hang on a second. It's ticker to my stock, but it did not. Oh, I have to apply the changes. Sorry. One to many, and then apply changes. Okay, here you okay, I'm getting some challenges here, so let's delete this relationship. I don't know why it given that message. So previously I did ticker to from my ticker table to my stock. Let's go other way around. I go ticker to from my stock to ticker, and go confirm. And now my relationship is correct. It's a one on the ticker side and many. I'm okay with this. There is certain, I think, the UI part of things. So this is perfectly fine. So now I'm okay with that. If I really want to add measures and all that stuff, I can do that. So this is auto save. Be careful. They also give the warning here. Keep in mind your changes will be permanent, automatically saved. So anytime you make any changes, you really have to be very careful that because it's automatically saving that. So now if we go to our workspace, we will see another artifact in there, which is called Fab Test Lakehouse Custom Dataset. And now this is our dataset. And one more thing which you can do here, and that which is very important, I want to talk about that. Let's go to Open Data Model. So I picked up my custom dataset and open. Now, if you remember when we created, and you should watch that, I think it's a second video or third video where we have a data flow gen 2 load data to Lakehouse. It did not like certain column names and it gave its own column and it fixed it, which was awesome. But I don't want those column names. I want my column names to be correct. Right now it is 52 underscore week underscore high. I don't want it. I want 52 week high. So on this layer, the semantic layer, I can actually change the column. I can give my own column name, double click, and then doesn't matter how it is stored in the one lake or in the Lakehouse, but I can come here and change at the time of the data set. So this is not change underscore percentage underscore, this is change percentage. This is the column name I want. This is what I want to expose to the users so that they can work when they work with this data set. So you can actually change this column names and the metadata here. So now this is, I'm happy with this. What we can do here is now we can connect with this data set. Again, just to keep in mind, this data set is now using direct lake, because as I hover over, and then we can really are sure that this is using direct lake. Now let's do one more thing. Let's go to data warehouse, and we have more tables in there, and create our custom data set on there as well. So, and then see how does that look like. So I go to PeryTUS data warehouse, and now here we can go to reporting, and under reporting we have the option to create new Power BI data set. So let's create new Power BI data set. Let's pick few tables here. I want the date column, of course. Trip is my fact table. I want my weather, and I want my geography. Let's say only these 3-4 columns tables I want, and confirm where it is. So it renamed it automatically gave the name PeryTUS data warehouse with 1. Let's go in here first to rename it. How we can rename it? Okay, here you go. We can rename it to custom data set. And I have these 3 tables in there, 4 tables what we picked, and go open data model. Let's create a relationship, and here is another challenge I want to talk about the relationship here. So pretty straightforward. Data ID, again, this is a sample data set data we loaded in data warehouse. So I don't know much about this data, but I think this is pretty straightforward. So it says date to trip, many to 1, but let's change it here. Try to change it 1 to many, single, confirm. Okay, perfect. This worked. Other day when I tried to change it there, it gave me the error. And as I said, things are changing pretty fast in Fabric. Thanks Microsoft fixing this, because yesterday when I dropped it there and tried to change from many to 1 to 1 to many, it gave some error message that you cannot do it. It's great. And then let's do this another geography ID here, and have a relationship with the let's say drop off geography ID. At this point we're just testing things. So drop off geography ID. I know my weather side, actually this is wrong. I can cancel this. So geography is a dimension table, so it's going to geography ID to drop off geography ID. Okay, geography ID. Again, the Power BI desktop was smart enough. When you drop the relationship, it picks up like which way to go, but here we have to really careful. 1 to many, and geography is on the one side and trip is on the many side. This works perfectly fine. And now weather is also linked with the geography ID, and here I'm going to go geography ID with the geography ID on my weather, and here it's go geography weather. I will show you something funny here. I can set this 1 to 1. Of course this will change to both, and I can confirm it. It will not give an error. But I tell you, weather has one, geography has many records. This is an invalid relationship. It should give us an error, but it does not give the error at this point in time. It does not check the referential integrity at this point of time. We never said assume referential integrity. We never turned that on, but this relationship is wrong, and I was surprised to see that. But let's keep this relationship like this. Again, we can come here and we can make the column name changes and whatever. We can hide columns and all the stuff, so we can really create our semantic layer, whatever we wanted to do here, write our mayas and all the stuff. So this is done. We create the data warehouse data sets, the custom data sets. We created our relationship, and we are happy. And let's go to Power BI and now connect to these Power BI data sets. And before we go there, is this using direct link? Again, data warehouse and the Lakehouse both write the data to one lake, and similarly delta tables and Parquet files and all that stuff. But is this using direct lake? We saw in the case of the Lakehouse, when we created our own data set, we hover over a table and we saw there is a direct lake. But if we hover over on this one, do we still see the direct lake, or what is there? So let's take a look. Okay, here you go. I go on a trip and it says the storage mode is direct query. So that doesn't sound right. And it shows direct query, but not a direct link. I expected this to show direct link. Here is the thing. If you are creating, as of today, when I'm doing this video on May 25th, just 2 days since Fabric came out, at this point of time, if you creating a data set on data warehouse, it is not taking advantage of direct lake. Only Lakehouse. If you're doing a data set on Lakehouse or your custom, or it's in default data set, it is using direct lake. But data warehouse currently, if you create a data set on that, it is not using direct lake at this point of time. Of course, it shows here, but my friend Sandeep, he did an amazing article on direct lake, and I spoke to him, and he mentioned, yes, you can really do the profiler and trace and see if it's sending the SQL queries or and other ways to find out. But I found that becomes very, very technical. Of course, we will do that in some upcoming videos as well. Maybe we'll take Sandeep's help in those videos, but I will share his article. You should read his article on direct lake. It answers tons of questions, and I learned a lot from that. Thanks, Sandeep, for putting that blog together. But again, for layman, or for easily, I can see the storage mode. It's going direct query, and when we created a data set on Lakehouse, it created a so-called a direct lake connection. So I'm happy with that right now, but I just want to make sure, keep in mind, the data set created on data warehouse is not taking advantage of direct lake at this point of time, but that will change, I'm pretty sure, in coming days. So again, let's go to Power BI desktop and connect to these data sets and explore. Here we are in Power BI desktop. So at this point in time, what we're going to do is we're going to connect to Power BI data set, and we have now our PeryTUS data warehouse custom DS and PeryTUS Lakehouse. So it's just traditional thing what we're doing. So I will pick up data warehouse custom DS and go connect. Perfect, we are connected, and again connected live to Power BI dataset custom That's what we used to see in the past. Perfect. And then we go in a model view. We will see our relationship there, which is awesome, and this is good. And one thing I want to bring in the attention here is, like, we created weather and geography as 1-to-1, which is very funny, makes me laugh. And and there is a many record in this, no error we get anywhere. And when we go to I just want to make sure that I'm correct here. So let's bring the geography ID here from our geography table actually, and let's see how many record we have against each geography ID. Let's create a simple measure here. New measure. This is a local measure. I'm connected to Power BI data set and creating a local measure, which I don't like, but again, in this case, we're just testing stuff. Let's add a count weather, and then simple count rows. If I type it, count rows, weather. Let's just count the number of weathers. So if this was one-to-one relationship, against each weather ID, we expect to see one record. But here I go count weather. Here you go. Each weather ID or geography ID, sorry, if it was one-to-one against each geography ID, we would have seen one single weather record. So that's one-to-one. So, but here it is like each geography ID has like around 5,000 rows. Let's actually physically check it. How we can do that, because we don't have a table browser option here. But let's say 848584589 and it is 5,000 records. So I'm going to bring geography ID from my weather table, and I'm going to bring count weather here as well. And if we look into, so now this is just a 545. Actually, what we can do here is, instead of count weather, we bring a date ID. I'm pretty sure this is on multiple dates, those weather IDs are. So this will expand quite a lot. At this point of time, I don't want the count. I want just to note summarize. So let's pick any of those. So as you can see, the geography ID 82, and here we have 82, 5,110 records. So here is 82, 5,000 records. So this particular table here, what we're seeing is directly from the weather table. So if I go back to my relationship, which is completely opposite, it is geography with weather one-to-one. Doesn't make any sense. Again, everything is in preview. The creating the data model, data set in the Power BI service is under Fabric is probably needs some improvement. All this relationship validation should happen there, but everything works. It doesn't give me error, which is funny. But if what does this means is, if you don't know about your data and you're creating this custom data set in the cloud, you can end up doing something completely wrong. So be very, very careful when you're doing that. Again, here we have no way knowing whether it's a direct lake or direct query. What's happening here? We saw in the Power BI data set, when in the cloud, in the service, when we created, we saw where it shows direct lake and direct query. So data warehouse currently does not take advantage of direct lake, because that will improve over time, but not as of today. And one more thing I want to show in Power BI service. Again, I want to finish this Power BI dataset side of things in this video. If we come back to Power BI dataset, a couple of things I just want to make sure that we know. I'm not sure this feature has been recently introduced or what happens. I can actually include and exclude tables from my dataset if I wanted. So I initially picked data, date, geography, trip, weather, all these tables. And let's see, if I really want to add another table in there, I can do that. Somewhere in the documentation, it was mentioned that you cannot edit the data set and all the stuff. So or maybe this is improved, or maybe I read it somewhere wrong. But again, you can come back here, edit tables in the data model, and you can add the tables and set the relationships. You can do a lot of fun stuff. I love it. This is amazing. And then going to default dataset, again, I have the whole attention is to the default dataset. If I go to FabTest Lakehouse, of course, I cannot open this data model. I cannot make any change to this. And anytime we saw in the video, in the previous video, anytime we loaded a table into the Lakehouse or into the data warehouse, those tables automatically showed up in the default data set. The question comes, can I remove those tables if I really needed to? And I actually stumbled upon this. You can actually do, let's say if you have if you're using default data set for whatever reason, which I'm not sure if I will use it, but I guess there has to be a reason why to use the default data set. But if I really wanted to remove a table from the default data set, what I found is, if I go to like FabTest Lakehouse a SQL endpoint for that one. And once it is loaded here, I go, let's say I go to trip, and then I have this context menu, and then it shows up remove from BI model. I was like, what does this means? So if I go remove from BI model, what does this do is once this finishes it, nothing happens here, everything is as it is. And if I go back to the default data set, which is created on the Lakehouse, because we said remove from BI model, and if I go to my default data set, okay, here we go to Fab Test Lakehouse database default. If I go dataset default, if I go there and I don't see the trip, that particular table which was in the in our Lakehouse, but it does not show up because I said remove from BI model. I guess this is something newly introduced. So what does this means is in the default data set, I can actually remove the tables if I really wanted to. And again, if we go back to our workspace and we go to our FabTest Lakehouse SQL endpoint, and we can go back and click on this one, and we can add to BI model. What will this do is it will bring this table back into the default data set. Well, I hope you find this video useful. We touched into a few areas: the default data set, how they look like, how we connect to the Lakehouse using May 2023 Power BI version. In the status bar, it doesn't tell us whether we connected to Lakehouse or we connected to the data set. It just shows the data set. We can create our own custom data set. I think I will always create my custom data set. Also, the relationship when you're creating in the cloud, in the service, be careful about that, because if you set up a wrong relationship, it doesn't give any error, and you might end up getting some funny result as well. And do check out 100%. I will share the link of Sandeep's blog post on Direct Lake. He's done an extensive, amazing job and wrote quite a lot on that. Answer many questions on Direct Lake. Please read all those his blog to learn more about it. We will be continuously working on Direct Lake, exploring it, and check the performance and all the stuff. The motive of today's video was just to see what it is, how it works, can we create our own data set, and all that stuff. Let me know what you guys think about this video, and if you were able to learn some new things about Microsoft Fabric and clear up some concepts around this newer Fabric stuff. Please do subscribe my channel. I will be bringing a lot more videos in upcoming days and on Fabric, and we will learn this whole thing together. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day. Bye for now.